All right, welcome back. Now I want to talk about the other two fights. I want to start with the bantamweight bout. The poor bantamweight division is in such bad shape. It needs some new faces or really dominant fighters. They've been trying to make a comeback, a resurgence. Ailin Perez, I've always thought is doing a pretty good job of bringing attention to the bantamweight division, at the very least. Fans seem to enjoy disliking her. And, for better or worse, I think it benefited the division. At least people are tuning in to a female bantamweight bout, even if it's just to see somebody beat up Ailin Perez. But this girl right here, now she won her debut. She's 2 fights into the UFC. This is just her second UFC bout. But she won both by stoppage. And here's the main thing, at least what I believe is the main thing about her, is her record so far. I kind of dismissed her record at first because she don't have that much MMA experience. But at 7-0, and you've stopped both of your UFC opponents, and she stopped all of her previous opponents, even though it was just 5 fighters. You notice she had 4 consecutive stoppages, aside from the DQ, illegal up kick. And then the UFC signed her. So, they saw something in her at this point. But even after her debut, I'm like, okay, let's see more. And even after tonight, I'm like, okay, let's see more. I'm still like, okay, let's see more. We haven't seen her face adversity. And there's a lot of girls in the division with a lot more MMA experience than her. So we'll see. A lot of people, you want to celebrate her right now as a future champion. You see a lot of her fans, a lot of people saying that she's a future contender at least. Hopefully she is, because she looks destructive right now. Hopefully she is. Simple as that. Hopefully she is. Hopefully she is what she looks like so far. Hopefully she's like this at the top of the division. That's been the thing with WMMA, right? You get so many promising fighters at the lower level, and then they get destroyed, as soon as they get a ranked fighter, as soon as they get a top 10 fighter, right? And then they lose again, and suddenly we forget about them. And we forget that when they first started, they had this buzz going on. But honestly, man, this girl right here, something seems psycho about this chick, man. I'm sorry, man. She seemed low-key psycho. Like she really gets into hurting people. And, she looks strong in there. Montserrat Rendon's not a bad fighter. She's not a bad fighter. Her record is actually not that bad. Ignore this loss tonight. She beat Alice Pereira. Remember her, Alice? It was the undefeated fighter who I was real critical of because she gassed out and she don't have no power and she move around a lot. Y'all remember this chick? I was real critical. I'm like, okay, I see why she runs around a lot, because she don't have no power. So Rendon beat her. So they matched Rendon up against another undefeated newcomer to the UFC. Basically, they were kind of using Rendon as a Sam Hughes type of gatekeeper. She's basically playing gatekeeper, Montserrat Rendon. Right, so they matched her up against Pereira. She beat Pereira. Says, okay, let's see if you can stop Mesquita. And that didn't work at all. That went horribly wrong. Okay, so the fight started. Okay, so here's her record. Okay, it's not a bad record. The fight starts, and this ended in the first round. Keep in mind, a lot of her fights have ended in the first round. Well, not a lot, just 3. And 4 of them ended in the second round. The fight starts. They're making some exchanges. And then it looks like Rendon gets hurt by like a jab or something. I'm like, huh? She got staggered twice. Now, I only watched the fight once. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it looked like she clipped her. And it looked like Rendon was throwing more offense. Like she was trying harder than Mesquita. Mesquita seemed to sort of like was counter-striking her. But she hurt her. She staggered her. It looked like twice. And then the second time she staggered her, she just went after her, bulldozed her. And my thing is, the Mesquita chick looked big and strong, man. Now remember, she's a jiu-jitsu chick. Most of her hype comes from her jiu-jitsu history. Okay? Most of her hype come from her jiu-jitsu history. And I haven't watched those bouts, but apparently she got a lot of clout in the jiu-jitsu world. And, at the very least, you got to say that fight was another example of why, some hype surrounds her. When she wins, at least against lower level opponents in the UFC, it's like dominant and it's like dramatic. Look at her, man. People think she hot. And she is, I think all these girls are attractive for the most part, but she looked like kind of evil. You can see it in her eyes. She likes to hurt. She put on this, one of them chicks that put on a smile in front of the cameras, but they really have sinister intentions in there. And they really get off on the bloodshed, on the pain. Like, you can't beat on someone. Like, she really tweaks out. But Rendon was doing a good job of defending herself on her back. She was in full mount. Mesquita had her in full mount. Rendon fighting off her back. She was doing a pretty good job of blocking that ground and pound. You saw Mesquita abandon the ground and pound, right? She abandoned it. Because she saw Rendon was too good at defending her shots. She couldn't pound her out. Had her in full mount, she could not pound Rendon out. So, a lot of people were high on Mesquita's ground and pound abilities. It didn't work there. I kind of think she would have preferred to end the fight via ground and pound. But Rendon was able to stop it. So, do you think some of the fighters ranked higher can stop it? Some of the better wrestlers, do you think, can deal with her? We'll see. We'll see. But she destroyed Rendon. There's no question about that. That fight was not competitive. Rendon didn't even have a moment. I don't even think a punch landed. Throwing that offense, it didn't hit nothing. She just got hit and staggered. All the highlights is for Mesquita again. So good luck, Mesquita. Hopefully you can keep this going and don't lose your shine. Because it's easy to lose your shine. She's confident. She already said she's going to dominate in the UFC. She said that. She calls herself the GOAT. The female GOAT. She's calling herself the GOAT already. So Bia, that's a source of entertainment. Like, okay, you want to talk big? I'll tune in to see if you can back it up. Just like Jillian Robertson. Now, even though Jillian won, I thought she looked bad winning. Now let's be honest, people. Let's be honest. That's not how Jillian wanted to win the fight. She did not want to win the fight based on her making submission attempts. And that's pretty much what she won the fight on. Being on top, having control time, and fishing for submissions. And Lemos kept fighting off the submissions. I don't think any fighter wants to win like that. They want to get the submission or ground and pound. Right? That's what they're fishing for submissions for. I think if you ask these fighters behind closed doors, they'll say the same thing. Yeah, I was disappointed in the performance. I didn't want it to end like that. Glad I got the victory. But I wasn't able to submit her like I was trying to do. Wasn't able to ground and pound her like I was trying to do. Even though Lemos was not as strong as, say, Taylor Santos, she was able to fight off all of Jillian's submission attempts and almost submitted Jillian a couple times. So will Jillian really, can you really bet on her to be the next champion? Another thing I noticed, in the strawweight division, have y'all noticed at the top is almost all grappler, wrestler, specialists? Mackenzie Dern. Really, be honestly, now Zhang Wei Li. She's really done a Shevchenko and primarily relies on her wrestling and grappling. But Tatiana Suarez, let's leave Wei Li out of it. Suarez, Verna, Yana's a striker, Lemos striker, but Jillian is now about to replace Lemos. So you're going to have Jillian, Verna, Suarez, Mackenzie Dern. And like I said, a big part of Zhang's dominance has been her wrestling, grappling. And it's not like that at the flyweight division. Shevchenko, you might as well look at her as a wrestler, grappler. But these chicks have a hard time outstriking Shevchenko. Most of them don't. She's just not as reliant on her striking anymore, if you ask me, Shevchenko. That's all it is. She's not falling off or becoming more of a wrestler. She's just not relying on it as much as she did in the past. I don't think she ever has. Remember, her UFC debut, she took Sarah Kaufman down, if I'm not mistaken, more than once. She's always been a wrestler grappler, which is not where her sister ever was. Right? Right, so you got Shevchenko, you got Silva, who is not a ground. Ain't nothing wrestling and grappling about Natalia Silva. That's the thing about that title fight. This is a little different, a little unique. That I think the UFC is going to try to make that fight, or at least they should. She's not wrestler grappler dependent at all. So the question is, will she be able to hold up against a wrestler grappler practitioner, specialist like Shevchenko? She already beat some lower level wrestler grapplers, but Shevchenko is a different world. Manon is pretty much both. She real super strong on the ground, strong takedown defense, all that stuff. She's a striker too, though. She's a striker too. She's primarily a striker. You see what I mean? Erin, she's both. She's got the wrestling grappling, but she spent a long time on her feet striking. Erin Blanchfield. And she really beat Rose on the feet. She beat her on the feet. Grasso, she's not a wrestler grappler. You see the difference between these divisions now? This is almost, strawweight is almost exclusively wrestler grappler. Those are the ones having the most success right now. And this chick, Thainara, is moving up. right? I think she's gonna destroy her next opponent, whoever it is. I don't know who it is. But man, she's on a tear. That Thainara chick, another wrestler, grappler, you know. Pretty soon, the top division, probably the top half, strawweight division, just gonna be littered with wrestler, grapplers. That the age or the era of striking in the strawweight division probably gonna end with Joanna and Rose. Whaley came in at the tail end of it, right? Tail end of it, she was sort of a striker, then transitioned a little bit, but man, I think that era is over for the strawweight division. Don't expect to see no striker, good takedown defense like a Joanna style in the strawweight division going forward, or at least for a long time. You're more likely to see that at the flyweight division right now. But give that chick, Bia Mesquita, a ranked fighter. I think most people calling for her to get a ranked fighter at this point. It don't take much noise to get a ranked fighter in the bantamweight division. If I'm not mistaken, they only got like 18 fighters anyway. I don't even think they got 20 fighters in the bantamweight division. There's like 5 unranked fighters. She probably don't have no choice but to get a ranked fighter next. She probably already beat all the unranked fighters. So yeah, I don't know. Give her Misha Tate, maybe Luana Santos, some more wrestler type fighters. But yeah, it looked like she can do some serious damage. These girls better be careful not to get blown away. The power looked real. It looked like she could hurt anybody if she catch you. And here's the thing. The thing about her, like, does she have power with her hands? She hurt Rendon. If she has power in her hands and she's a threat on her feet, man, yeah, y'all better watch out. Y'all better plan for this chick right now. You know what I'm saying? She's a supposedly a monster at BJJ, and she can hurt you. Yeah, y'all better prepare for this chick right now. Right, decent night of fights. I will leave it there.